Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. I, 27 female, have been best friends with this person for 10 years. Recently, I found out that she's been lying to me for 2 years about being pregnant and having a baby. This friend would tell me for the last year and a half how her daughter's father has kept her from her child. Of course, as a good friend, I wanted to help her. I agreed recently to take her to go get her child from him. I drove 2 hours to pick her up the night before and then took her the next day to get her child. I drove her 3 hours from where I lived. We had arrived at 2:46 p.m. When we got there, she said she needed a minute to herself and wanted to go walk around. So I sat in my car by myself while she did that. Around 3:30 p.m., I texted her and asked what time he would be there, and she told me he got off at 4:30 p.m. I agreed to wait. After waiting for about an hour, I had texted her again and asked what time he would be there. She told me 6 p.m. At 6:01 p.m., she texted me and said he would be there at 6:45 p.m. I had eventually texted her at 6:40 p.m. and told her if he was not there at 7 p.m., I would be leaving. At 7:01 p.m., she texts me and says that he's going to take her to her daughter, which I thought was a little strange. I tried to call her and she didn't answer, so I texted her and let her know I would be leaving regardless. I waited until 7:20 p.m. to leave and she never said anything to me at all. She didn't text me until 11 p.m. Well before I had received a text from her, I ended up reaching out to her mom to see if she had spoken to her. This is where it got interesting. Her mom had informed me she has never had a child. Well, I was convinced that I didn't know what was true. So I decided my only point of contact between me and her daughter's father was his ex-girlfriend. So I messaged the ex on Instagram. This ex had helped me out so much. My best friend was extremely angry that I reached out to her mom and the ex-girlfriend. My best friend finally decided that she was going to come clean and tell the truth, that there has never been a baby. I even tried to confront her about it after her mom told me there was no baby and she refused to answer the question. I was so angry and upset. Also, let me add in there she told me I'm a bad friend because I left her 4 hours away from her house and in a strange town. But am I the bonehead for doing my own investigating? Edit. She didn't want to post her because she didn't want the world to see her daughter. To clarify, the picture of the baby was her cousin's baby. I don't know anyone on her dad's side. Also, I agreed to meet him in a public place while he gives her the baby back. Once she said he was taking her to her daughter, I left. I didn't agree to kidnapping. I agreed to them meeting and exchanging the baby. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. Wow, she is sick and toxic. Do not speak to her again as nothing she says matters. Not the bonehead. She sounds delusional. Impressive you put up with that at all and stayed for 4 hours waiting for her. It's good you did your own investigation so you know the actual truth. Not the bonehead. She was lying to you and had you support her for someone who doesn't exist. OP replied, I will add I'm a mom myself, and I have fought to the bitter end to remove my child's father from his life. But my other thing is a lot of the stuff she tried to tell me was so similar to my situation that I felt bad. And to add, after talking to her ex-boyfriend, he told me he never had plans to meet with her. So I guess she had me take her to meet another dude. Info, I'm confused. How have you been friends for more than 10 years, yet she faked the whole pregnancy, birth, and court case where she lost custody of her child? OP replied, here is the timeline of our friendship. Let me clear up a couple of things. We started being friends in 2012. She moved 2 hours away in 2020. In 2020, I got pregnant with my son. I have been a full-time single mom. I stayed in contact with her through FaceTime, and I have only seen her in person 3 times from the time she moved to current. During her pregnancy, I didn't see her because she used COVID as an excuse, which I respected because I had a COVID baby. Well, in May of 2021, she sends me a picture and says she had a baby. She tells me on FaceTime one day that she let her daughter's father take the baby because she was depressed. Well, when she reached out to me on Thursday, she said he was trying to take her daughter from her for good and got her rights taken away. So I agreed on Friday to take her to get her daughter. And that's when this crap show happened. I hope this helps a little more. Also, I will add that maybe I was blinded by things because she told me things I could relate to. Not the bonehead. This is so strange and weird to me, but is there any way she could have possibly miscarried? Maybe she's dealing with stress, anxiety, PTSD from the situation. Can't believe she had you drive 3 hours and got mad at you for leaving her when she didn't respond for 3+ hours. OP replied, honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure anymore what's true and what's not. She refused to see me when she was pregnant, which COVID was still a thing, so I thought it was valid. But she won't give me any answers to anything at this point, except she did admit she lied about the baby the whole time. Definitely not the bonehead. The friend is the bonehead, and her level of complicity in getting you to drive her to a town 4 hours away and then ignoring you and blatantly continuing to lie and lie and lie to you simply means that you have been used and used and used time and time again to give her attention, and for her, it's really only become a vehicle to see how much she can get away with where you're concerned. Block her. Discontinue contact. She is no friend, nor could you ever believe her again. Leopards never change their spots. Period. My mom refuses to believe me when I tell her I don't know something. When I still lived at home, she would ask me personal questions about my brothers or my friends. I tried to explain that I had no way of knowing what my brother, who was away at university, was doing for the weekend, or why my friend had colored her hair. It didn't matter. The questions never stopped. So I have developed a method to deal with her. It has 4 stages. First, if she asks me something that I know or have the ability to Google, for example, what did Brendan Fraser do for the last decade? Then I answer her question to the best of my ability. Second, if she asks me a question that I have no possible way of knowing, I tell her clearly that I don't know. Third, if she persists, I come up with a random but plausible answer. For example, when she asked me what my friend from high school, who is married to my brother's wife's sister, was doing with his old car when he bought his new car, I told her he traded it in. Fourth, when she doesn't believe the plausible story, then I go nuts. So when she said that she had spoken to my sister-in-law and he wasn't trading it in, then I come up with a random story. The car was stolen, and when the cops found it, the entire trunk was packed with coolers full of dead squirrels and elk meat. So they're keeping it as evidence, and that's why he's getting a new Bronco. I don't know why, but she believes the weirdest crap I come up with and passes it on as facts. This has now bitten me in the butt. My brother said that when she was over there visiting, she asked him about the squirrels and elk meat, and that it made the visit weird. Everyone is mad at me for misleading my mom and for her embarrassing herself at my brother's house. I think she needs to learn that I don't know everything and that she should accept that as an answer. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. I don't know why some moms are this way. I heard a story a while back about a guy who got "I don't know" tattooed on his arm so he could just point at it when his mom asked him questions he couldn't answer. Demanding answers like that is so lazy of her. Not the bonehead. How on earth are you going to know everything? If someone says "I don't know," that is the answer. Though I would stop telling her lies, even plausible ones. Tell her "I don't know." Or tell her "I don't know, stop asking." Or say, "Have you hit your head? Why do you think I know when I have said I don't?" If you feel like saying something ridiculous to prove she won't get an answer out of you, make it really ridiculous. Susan was abducted by the death realm creature Zansaku, and her husband had to trade the car for her freedom. Not the bonehead, but your mom is so naive. Watch her carefully because any scammer could scam her easily. Skip the first 3 stages and just go nuts. Sprinkle your stories with aliens, ghosts, pirates, skeletons. Make it fun and entertaining since your words are taken as facts. Others can answer themselves if they wish to. You are not obligated to do so after so many futile attempts. Not the bonehead. I'm a party princess, which means I dress up as fictional princesses and women and have a catalog people can pick from when they book me on what character they want. It's a job I love and I make really good money. And over the pandemic, I began to do Zoom calls also, which was more one-on-one and lasts 40 minutes. I've been doing this for 2 years, and it's a job I intend to continue as long as I can, as it's very fulfilling to me. My boyfriend of 7 months, however, is rather embarrassed by this job and doesn't want me being open to his family and friends about the job as he feels it would make me look childish Or like I lack prospects, which is quite irritating as I make more money than him with this job, but I'd never throw that up in an argument with him. Instead, I asked him why it mattered if they thought it was childish, and he asked me to just do this for him and say I work somewhere more normal. I don't like lying, and it's upsetting to me that he wants me to do this, but he told me it's not like I can do this job forever, which I do know, but while I do it, I don't see why I should be ashamed. Should I keep the peace and tell a little fib? Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. When I saw the title, I thought the job would be something sexual in nature. Something that might make conservative parents uncomfortable. There's nothing embarrassing about being a party entertainer. Also, what is he expecting? He wants you to make up a job and details about it, and then for the rest of your relationship, try to remember the lies you've told about this job to keep up the charade? That's nuts and a lot of mental work, on top of being dishonest and a recipe for disaster. What if they found out somehow from someone else? Like someone they know books you and they see photos or something. Then you'd look like a maniac who invented a fake job. OP replied, honestly, even if I worked in the adult entertainment industry, I'd be upset by this. There's no shame in that line of work, in my opinion. Yeah, I really don't know what he expects, and I'd end up tripping over myself. No, don't ever lie about what brings you joy in life, and never date a person who is against that. Not the bonehead. Let's be clear. You're an actress. That's fundamentally what you're doing, just in very specific venues and circumstances. There is absolutely no difference between what you're doing and, say, getting up on stage in costume or in motion capture equipment to be part of a video game. You're an entrepreneur. You've taken this niche and turned it into a thriving business. That's actually really goddamn hard, and you deserve kudos. Now, this is all obvious to me from a couple of paragraphs and should be obvious to your boyfriend, too. Not the bonehead, of course. And it would be perfectly fair to describe yourself to friends and family as actress and entrepreneur. But how they react to any of this is on them, not you. Brief backstory. About a year ago, my last remaining grandparent passed away and my father inherited all assets, including a house. I had been saving for a nice down payment, at least 50%, so I could have a lower mortgage payment each month, thus allowing me to save money for travel. When my father inherited this house, which he had no interest in moving into yet, he offered to sell it to me for well below market rate, with the caveat that he and my stepmother could eventually move into the basement apartment. I agreed because they're both incredible people who are not at all invasive and would give me privacy if they lived here. So he sold it to me and I moved in. Present day. About 6 months ago, I started considering renting out the finished basement apartment. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a living room, and a small kitchenette, sink, fridge, microwave, but no oven. A friend of mine said his brother was moving to my city and needed a place. He's a brand new teacher and doesn't make great money, so he needed a place that wasn't expensive. I offered to let him rent my basement for way less than market rate, $650 per month, which would include utilities. He readily accepted and signed a year-long lease. Well, a few days ago, he asked if he could start paying the landlord directly instead of giving me rent money each month. I was under the impression my friend had told him I owned the house, so I was confused and I told him we don't have a landlord and that I'm the owner. He got very upset and screamed at me for lying for over 6 months and taking advantage of him by making him pay so much in rent. For the record, an apartment similar to the one in my house would be well over twice what he's paying me, closer to 3 times for something as nice. He asked how much of my mortgage he was covering and I said, "Why does that matter? You're getting a nice, quiet place to live, access to a full kitchen and laundry room, and you're paying an amount that you can afford. My personal finances aren't really a factor here." He stormed out of the room and slammed the basement door. He's still not speaking to me. I asked a few other friends and some family members, and most said I'm wrong for having him cover my mortgage payments. Only a few say I'm in the right. So am I the bonehead for having my roommate cover $650 of my $775 a month mortgage? Edited to add, he has a lease, so I won't be evicting him over this alone. If he does any damage or becomes hostile, I'll look at the eviction process. But for now, he'll remain unless he chooses to break the lease, which I would allow him to do if he wants. He also didn't bother to read the lease before signing. The lease clearly states I'm the owner. I didn't trick him or keep information from him. He simply didn't read what he was signing. I didn't get the house for almost free as some people choose to believe. My father sold it to me for about 75% of its value, more or less as an advance on rent he and my stepmother will pay when they move in here in a few years. We already agreed they won't pay monthly rent, but will contribute to utilities and groceries at that time. Now for some comments. OMG, are they freaking serious? What is it they think people do when they rent? They cover the landlord's mortgage payment. You're definitely not the bonehead, and quite honestly, do not renew the lease with this person. How entitled can one person be? I rented an Airbnb for a few months when I was new to the area. More precisely, I rented a bedroom. Yes, I had access to the kitchen, shared bathroom with whoever else were guests, shared laundry room, and pool, but still, bedroom for more than you're charging for a finished basement apartment. It sounds like your renter is going to get sticker shock when he moves out. Tell everyone who thinks you're ripping the guy off to check the market rate for the area and then go kick rocks. Were you supposed to let him stay for free? Again, not the bonehead, but I think I'd start looking for smarter friends. OP replied, I'm only friends with his brother, and he thinks he's an absolute moron for being mad over cheap rent. He came over here yesterday and basically told his brother what an idiot he is, which made me laugh since I could hear him from upstairs. Not the bonehead. If he's so unhappy, offer to break his lease and let him find another place to live. You didn't hide anything from him and you don't owe him anything. OP replied, if he wants to break the lease, I would let him do it with no penalty. I could make at least $1,000 a month if I rented to a stranger. I mostly gave him the discount because he's my friend's brother and teachers have a lot working against them, so I thought he deserved a break. He teaches in a low-income area and ends up spending money out of his own pocket to make sure his students have what they need. Wow, the cojones on this one. I would give him notice. If he thinks he can find a better deal, let him. $650 for a 2-bedroom with utilities included? I don't think you could get that good a deal in Oklahoma. Not the bonehead. Why are people looking at it as if he's paying your mortgage directly? What it is you're the landlord and he's paying you his rent. And where that money goes is nobody's business but the landlord's. If the money doesn't go into the mortgage, where should it go? Back into his own pocket? He's a renter, so he has to pay rent. Anyone trying to argue their way out of paying rent is just delusional. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you like these stories, please consider subscribing. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. Bye for now.